I wanted to show you guys how we introduce this podcast every time we do the podcast. Some of you might think, well, you'll just see what it is. I want to reiterate, this is exactly how we start every podcast recording, and we do not really prep people beforehand.
Don't blink.
Don't blink.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Elliot.
What's the talk of the table?
Every time. Today, we are sitting down live at the 20-sided store for our very first live recording. Returning to the show, we have Caleb Zane Huett.
Hello.
And Sean Ireland.
Hello.
Designers of the 4-time Emmy-nominated Triangle Agency. Caleb and Sean, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Amazing to be back. Amazing to be at 20-Sided Store. I was just talking to my husband, Michael, today about how 20-Sided Store was the first game store I really fell in love with when I lived in New York a few years ago. And it is my modern resurgence back into tabletop games started with me coming here and buying, I think, Ryutama at the time. And taking it and going and sitting on a bench by the water and reading all the way through Ryutama that day and being like, I'm gonna get back into these. So it's been a really nice, it's been a really funny, nice few years since then.
I didn't know that story, and I feel like I met you 30 seconds after that.
Right. Story. I had still been role playing. I'd been playing a lot of games, but I hadn't done a lot of in-person tabletop for probably 4 years before that. And then when I moved to New York and I had a little more free time and I had a little more I had more gamer friends around me, it was an easier thing to get back into it. So yeah, it was nice to start thinking. I read it and was just I have an opinion about this book now, instead of just I'm a player who's accepting it, with no filter.
Hell yeah. So, when we were thinking about this conversation, we first sat down with y'all, I checked, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And 2 years ago, you guys had just run this smash hit Kickstarter for a little game called Triangle Agency. And now, right here is that game, Triangle Agency. So I believe everybody here in the audience knows, maybe some listeners don't. Could you just give us the pitch for Triangle Agency in the year of our Lord 2025?
Yeah. Sure. So it's a paranormal investigation and corporate horror game where you play as the employees of a mysterious and likely extremely evil corporation called the Triangle Agency. You are super, super high-powered PCs who have the ability to sort of manipulate reality around you and use a lot of personal powers called your anomaly abilities to affect reality. And a lot of those overlap with storytelling abilities as well. And most of your work is going out and capturing anomalies that are very similar to you. And over the course of your career, you'll be deciding how you feel about that, choosing where you spend your time, whether to become a better employee, whether to become stronger with your personal powers, or whether to invest in the people around you and build up your reality. And at the end of your campaign, which is a set amount of time that an agent gets to spend before the agency kind of forces them to pick what they're going to do with the rest of their life or lack thereof, and we've played a lot with some interesting, I think, ways of gradually dripping information and new stuff into your campaign, so that as you play, you get to be surprised by the game itself too. That's my general pitch.
Hell yeah, it's a great pitch. Though, Sean, I recently heard you give a much shorter pitch that I really liked, and I would love it if you gave it as well.
Cracks knuckles. It's sort of like if the Ghostbusters worked at the Severance offices.
And really, that's all you need to know. That's it.
It's a very good tactic.
It's a very
That
good
is
pitch.
good. That is really good.
Thanks, guys.
Interview over, I think.
Done.
Yeah.
We did it.
We're all here to make X meet X. That's what we're up to.
Yeah.
I also
Yeah.
like to tell people that it is a game that can be spoiled.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite things about Triangle Agency. So for anyone who doesn't know, there's a section of this book that is playwalled content. So it's like a legacy board game, it's a legacy role-playing game where you are unlocking things as you go. And the reason I haven't finished reading this book is because I do not want to read it. I want to play it. If there's one thing I know about myself, it's that I hate spoilers. And I need to play it live, which was really fun.
I'm
thing for a
realizing
role-playing game.
right now for the first time that mostly people say it has spoilers. This is the first time maybe that I've ever heard someone say it can be spoiled. And I was like, that is a different phrase. I don't love that. It's like porridge sitting out on the counter. Be careful. Be cautious.
So I mean, 2 years. 2 years of production, 2 years of printing, 2 years of writing, 2 years of layout, all sorts of ticky-tacky little steps to get here. This question is just kind of an emotional one. How did it feel to finally hold this finished product?
So to sort of clarify timeline a little, it took us about a year from the campaign to have our like fully written test version like ready for people to play. So that we had that first phase of people playing the sort of complete game about a year after the campaign, and then we had the whole game like ready to send people digitally about a year and a half, a year and 3 months, something like that. It was a pretty intense amount of time, and then maybe it was about 8 months had the digital, and then we had the game release about a year. And now we're at a year since the digital. So yeah, it's been 2 years and we've had about a year since the digital, and the physical came out about 6 months ago. So we've had a little bit of time with it, but it was amazing. It also was for me a huge shift in what my life was about, because it really was. It was years of focusing every day for many, many hours on making sure that this box existed in some form. So yeah, it was a big change.
This gesture that I did earlier was you, like 90 seconds ago, asking me to like relive one of the most powerfully emotional moments of my life.
Just here in front of people,
Right.
And I was fully lost in a reverie until the second half of what Caleb just said.
Yeah.
But like for me, it happened in fits and bursts because like so much of the sweat and so much of the tears happened like in and around Caleb's head and home. And like the proofs came to Caleb's house first. And like I had, speaking of spoilers and games that can be spoilers, I'm just going to walk ahead and spoil the game Inscription for anybody who happens to have played that.
That's fine.
Great. Like
that is acceptable.
Wonderful. There's this found footage aspect where you watch a character play with a mysterious game that they're unraveling. And like I had that sort of out of body experience watching Caleb share videos of himself interacting with this game.
Right.
It was like fully realized in my head, but like couldn't be real. What are you talking about?
Yeah, yes. That's such a great way it felt so fictional for so long that finally getting to like look at it was very much a surreal, like this is not an actual thing that's happening kind of feeling.
Yeah, and then Fate, I received my actual factual copy like 39 seconds before I had to leave the door to go to PAX. So I ripped it open, sobbed, put it on my backpack, and got on a train.
And then you got to lift hundreds of them.
Hundreds of them.
Yeah, so that was great.
So how quickly did the joy wear off once you had to pick up 1,000 of them?
I'm still living in that
That's
joy.
what we like to hear.
Damn right.
May it never wear off.
So during that campaign, you guys raised $380,000. That's about right. That sounds like a crazy amount of money. Because it is a crazy amount of money.
Especially in RPGs, it was a very surprising amount of money. Yes.
But as we said in our first interview, your guys' Kickstarter page was like gorgeous. We commented to each other that like the second the campaign launched, I assumed it had been like a game I just missed, that it was just like already a thing. And it was like, no, it first got announced like a week ago. And I'm like, how the fuck did you guys do this?
Well, that's a round of applause for Michael right here for designing that Kickstarter page.
Phenomenal design.
Yeah.
So it's a crazy amount of money. It sounds crazy because it is crazy, but is it actually a crazy amount of money? And what I mean by that is, where does all that go when you're making something like this?
Mm-hmm. How granular do you want me to be? For real.
How granular do you guys want to get? Is granular interesting to this crowd? You guys are the first crowd.
Yeah.
The audience wants the grains.
Okay.
Let's get granular.
Yeah. So by the time you get through Kickstarter and backer kit, about 30% 5% of it probably ends up kind of vanishing. There's like a big chunk of it that goes through. A lot of people don't really think of Kickstarter this way, but what it really is like a kind of a marketing machine. Like it is a place where you collect money, but Kickstarter as a company makes their money on the fact that they are marketing your stuff for you. On top of that, we also used ads, BackerKit ads at the time through BackerKit, which is another crowdfunding company that also can manage ads, to do like online ads, which is not something I had ever really touched before. So we had someone else kind of help us manage that. That was also very expensive. It was extremely worth it for us in the end, but it's a very risky and scary thing to poke at. So we never knew how it was going to go. That ended up taking up a huge chunk. Something like ultimately like $50,000 went to advertisements because that much money was on a rate that we were tracking, like coming back as more money than that, Like that's just kind of how marketing is supposed to work. But it wasn't something we had a lot of control over. It was very scary to be investing a lot of money in advertisements early.
And when you have to write that check at the end of the day, that's got to be terrifying.
Yeah. Right. I've
never put that many zeros on a check. I had never had that much money like going in or out of any account that I could touch in before. So that was all very scary and stressful. But so a big chunks of it go there. And then each of our books in this, and this was because of how well it went, but our creative teams for the core book and the vault each ended up costing around $30,000 because we paid everybody their market request rate for their art as well as for the writing in both. And then we had royalties that, due to some math that we were doing, started kicking in even before the campaign was over. Like the amount that we made on any given sale meant that some money was then going back around to them. But $30,000 was what we paid basically upfront for each of these books, ultimately. And then after that, there was even more that went directly to the creative teams, which is like, I say that as if it's an issue, but that really was the point. Like, that's why we were doing it. So that's why the number is big on that. Like, it's like we wanted to and we continue to. That's the number we want to be big.
Right, exactly. And so from that point forward, like when you think about all of that stuff all together, you're not then set up with money that's like, and now hire 5 employees, and now, run a whole business and start publishing 1 million books. You're set up with enough money to make sure that we're not going to run out if we had to pay for a website and a web store for a while, if we needed to pay for the actual, after that, this is again, granular, but it's probably we ended up spending another $20,000 just getting the books to the places they needed to go. So that was another huge chunk of it. And so after that, we started getting more sales after it because of how well the campaign went. So we were never at a point where we were in extreme danger or anything. But even with the amount that we made, with the goals we were trying to set and with what we were trying to ship, if we hadn't continued to sell after the campaign, there's a chance that there were all sorts of bad things that could have happened. If there wasn't some steady stream. And now we're doing pretty good. I'm able to do something we were not able to do with this, which is pay writers and artists to be working kind of incrementally rather than just being please give me this, let's do it all at once. We're able to be let's poke at something until we have something really good. We're able to be really patient this time in a way that we were not able to be.
Sure.
And that was a really long-winded answer, but the answer is that it didn't feel like a lot, but it definitely feels completely ridiculous to complain about because I'm talking about, getting to move around this much money at any given time. So it doesn't feel like a crazy amount of money, but it does feel like we are able to keep working and keep doing what our dream was, which is that's the amount of money that's enough. That is enough money, to make that happen.
It is really great to just underline that even with a success as smashing as Triangle Agency, it doesn't more money doesn't make it easier. If anything, it maybe makes it harder just because the scale of thing goes up and up and you have to learn significantly more. I'm sure both of you have skills now that you did not anticipate ever needing 3 years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
It's fascinating. I was listening back to our first conversation, and you guys talked about how the goal on the Kickstarter page was $10,000. Mm-hmm. And right.
So kind of missed the mark on that one.
Right.
Yeah. I guess in hindsight, is there a world where this book would exist if you had just hit that goal, or did you need to have a smash?
Well, that's where that number came from. That was the Pyrrhic victory level where we made it and then we immediately burnt out and got out of games.
Right.
Yeah.
Where we were well, right. Well, and yeah, exactly. It was it was our discussion about what is the amount of money that we are willing to finish this on, and what would have come out of it would have been pretty different. Like a huge portion of what ended up being the size of these books came from being able to reinvest in them because of the Kickstarter, like the art in them and the like packaging and even the writing. Like we were able to pay ourselves to do a lot more, to make sure that the like our dreams of like how the play wall was going to feel and how complicated it was going to be and all that could actually happen. I don't think it would have been as intense. And like we wouldn't have been able to spend like across a team of like 4 people hundreds of hours on the layout, you know, on each of these books, and like that just wouldn't have been possible. Like it would not have happened if we didn't see how much people were going to look at it. If we didn't have that big of an audience that really made us feel like we needed to do that. Is really how it is.
This is a layout that does a lot. There's a lot just because it adds the game. For anyone who hasn't picked up Triangle Agency and just flip through it, pick it up and flip through it for like 2 minutes. It's incredibly fun. But the layout just gets crazier and crazier and crazier as it goes. And I feel like half of the fun of the game is like feeling the game get more unhinged in the text as you are also playing it, and the game is getting more unhinged as you're playing it. Mm-hmm. I don't think I have a question here. I'm trying to find it, but I love that the success allowed you to like just keep going into those like, let's do the craziest, most fun, most interesting, most wild version of this game, and get what we see here in front of us, which is really fun.
One thing I would underline, we talked about the size of the dollar amount that came in from the Kickstarter, but it was also close to 5,000 people.
Yeah.
Right.
That all like were voting, we want to see this game. Mm-hmm. And that was a huge motivator. That is a huge difference between the $10,000 version.
Yeah.
You know, there's us, you know, working in the shadows, and then there's us knowing that there's people who are like interested, who already like some of the stuff we put out and who want to see more.
Yeah. It's 3 Hamiltons, we were saying on the first interview.
It's 3 Hamiltons.
3 sold out Hamiltons.
I don't remember you saying this. That's such a funny metric.
It's a bit. It's a thing Brian said in the first.
All
interview.
4 of us were present for this interview, and apparently I said it. Only one person remembered.
Yeah.
I listened to it today. I'm good at preparation.
Yeah,
allegedly.
that's great.
You know what? 2 years ago, me was kind of funny.
It's a shame what happened.
It's a real shame.
Yeah.
To tie layout specifically, actually, to what we're talking about, is like a huge change that happened because of the attention that we had and because of the funding that we had. Is like probably the wildest actual like part of the layout in here is the general manager's section, which is like the second section where the GMs get taught what to do. And the huge chunk of that was done by Michael again here, who did that. Yes, thank you again. And that section started entirely different, where it was a lot closer to the way the section was done, as you can see in our like Delta test version, where we took our kind of already existing layout from the first chunk and then sort of like played with it a little bit. And because we had the resources we did, when that was drafted, we were able to look at it and say, like, this is not right. Like, this is not enough. It's not big enough. It's not giving us the feeling that we need. And it's not like meeting the rest of the book anymore, like the version we had. So I was able to sit down with Michael and be like, what can we do? What can we fix? And like take more time to work on it, extend it a little longer. And that's, again, that kind of space is really the thing that you miss when you don't have money. It's not so much quality. It's just like quality of the actual final product on a like moment to moment, beautiful art, beautiful writing level. It's more about the ability to keep revisiting and editing and reevaluating and making sure that everything matches this kind of.
Is there anything that you were still limited by? Is there anything that you wanted to do with this project that you still weren't able to do despite the success of it and what the money granted you to be able to do with it?
Sean might have some. Mine would be. Do you have anything, Sean? Are you
I
saying
do.
no?
I'm about to step in a big dirty puddle.
Okay, let's see. Let's find out.
Thank you very much.
And here I go, playtesting.
Yes. Yeah.
Like the game grows exponentially, and there are so many different avenues that the shape of your game can take, and so many of the powers are so big and bombastic and have cumulative effects on one another and are recursive, and there are rules that fuck with the book itself, and we simply didn't do it.
Yeah.
we didn't do that level. We didn't do that level of playtesting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was about to say time for a similar reason, which is that like the thing that we got was money, and the thing we also received was kind of like Kickstarter pressure. There's a pretty typical rhythm that happens in Kickstarters where if you take longer than about a year to get it to people, you're just going to start hearing about it a lot. And so there's a lot of like psychological fear that comes from the idea that if I don't get something out in time, I'm going to be hearing some kind of like I'm going to have somebody with hurt feelings or somebody who's upset or feels like I've betrayed them. In some cases, maybe feeling it correctly because we had set what our schedule was going to be. That made the feeling that we needed to get it out in a year like feel very strong, and we didn't even do that. And even as we were getting to where we weren't going to get it out exactly at a year, because we were getting the digital kind of in the right space, but we weren't going to get the physical out for longer. I was very anxious about that, very scared about that at the time. And yeah, like Sean said, the biggest thing that we talked about all the time was we were like, I wish we could test more of this. I wish we could play with more groups and a wider variety. But what's funny is even with the like, with the amount that we've gotten to play since then and the people we've played with and our Discord of people who are playing and talking about it all the time, it still feels like every couple games there's like a completely new 100% unseeable until exactly that table put that combination of things together thing that's popping up now that I think is just I find to be really exciting as a creator now because we get to see that happen. But yeah, I agree. I miss that.
Quick shout out to the Discord community, by the way.
Shout out.
Yeah.
If you're listening at home and you are playing a game and your brain is on fire and you want people to talk to, there is a very welcoming group of people in our Discord community who are going to share what happened at their table and are excited to hear what happened at yours.
I want to drill down kind of on that idea of like now you are getting to hear and see about people playing this game, playing it beyond ways you've gotten to play it. There are probably people out there who've maybe played it more than you now, depending.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And I think that like you might not have these learnings yet of like what it means for like the future of the design and clarifications and new rules you want to write. But what's kind of how do you approach that as people are playing the game and you're hearing about these edge cases and you're hearing about these like speed bumps people are running into or really exciting things they're leaning into you didn't expect? How are you kind of planning to incorporate that into the future of the game?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways that we talk about it. We are talking about it all the time. Like, so stuff pops up and we end up lost in discussions on the phone for 30 minutes because somebody made an interesting comment on Discord. But for me right now, the biggest like project that we're working on is figuring out how to make it easy for people to craft and run missions, which our vault has 12 of in there, and they're beautiful, and they're each written by a different writer, and they're all like very, very interesting stories that were based on kind of like our testing and our style and how we thought it would help, how we thought people would be able to like run missions. And we've seen enough difference and change between the way people play and the way we expected them to. We've also gotten a better sense of like what our audience's kind of like play conventions are that have helped me see like, okay, we're going to be able to publish more adventures with a slightly different framing, with a slightly different structure, and like and make it work better for our game. But overall, it really has been a lot of us just discussing like what would we change, what would we fiddle with, what would we adjust based on the stuff people are reacting with. But a big portion of it is still us being like, this is the correct level of challenge for this game to be to them, because a lot of it is supposed to be frictive and like difficult. And so a lot of it we don't want to change. I guess I would say we're just listening. Yeah.
Yeah. I would also say that like a bit, I feel pride, I feel accomplishment because the diversity of these stories and the like completely various swingy elements that I hear pop up from individual tables mean that we put the correct DNA in the bones of this game because it's meant to like ask you what choices you're going to make when you can do anything. And to hear that if people all tended to gravitate towards one of three stories, I would have been crestfallen.
Yes.
But people each seem to have their own story, which means that our thesis kind of paid off in a huge way.
Well, and then that was why we added so much stuff, and that was why it was hard to play test, is because like we wanted it to be too big to wrap your individual head around it at a given time, and that does feel like it paid off. Yeah.
In terms of those feelings of like, seeing the variety and like that like death of the author moment you inevitably have to have more so in RPGs than like other written forms, I guess what is the most delightful version of that, and what's the thing where you're like people are not getting this intention I had. If you're willing to go there.
Yeah. No, I definitely. Let me think about what because I'm like having to check my own brain for like what are the ones that I just like to whine about and what are the ones that are actually a problem. And it's like because they're different. Sometimes it's just nice to whine. I would say my biggest delight is when people find combinations for the abilities in the game. That has been like an unbelievably and unending like level of excitement for me because all of the abilities have these like really flexible this really flexible language you're allowed to kind of like interpret at your table. And so when we hear that people have like cracked into the book by using a combination of abilities to build an item that allows you to have your character read the book Triangle Agency or whatever, like all that stuff all that stuff feels like it correctly pays off what we were doing when we were writing them, which was like we want to give these enough space that players feel like empowered at a level that like no one can prepare for. So that's been beautiful. I think the toughest stuff is all coming down to the fact that we've made something that's like not reliable. It's a book that has narrators and it's a story that is intended to be pretty clear about what it's communicating to you about the game up front. And it can be definitely very disheartening to like, from a level of like craft and also just from a level of like what it is like to talk about the game when you interact with somebody who is like, why isn't this game giving me the rules to like physically hit the anomalies and put them in a jail that has a specific, series of rules. Like there's a lot of really strange stuff with the way that it's structured to be so upfront. Like this is about villains. This is about characters who are engaging for some amount of time with an organization that is like not positive, like not a good place to be, and having to hear feedback that comes down to like not only not getting that they're villains, but wanting them to be worse. Is tough, I think.
Something that I'm still developing calluses around is when people have the instinct to chop up the book and like regurgitate it in bits and pieces to their teams. Because I understand where that instinct comes from. I might do that if I were a player who was reading Triangle Agency, a GM who was reading Triangle Agency for the first time, but also don't do that.
Don't touch it.
Don't do that.
I put it there for a reason.
Because that short circuits the experiment. It's all about the reader getting all the tools at once, and then deciding whether they're going to follow the rules or not. And when you make that choice for them, they're no longer playing Triangle Agency.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And I would say that something that I've actually you described getting calluses around. Something that I've been learning a lot about my own approach as a player as a result of watching people play our game is how often I have the instinct that's like people start editing it before it's even hit the table. Like people will start asking like, well, what if I changed this series of core things like before it made it to the table? And my instinct is always to be like, oh, what? Like, what do you mean? You're
perfect baby.
You're supposed to play it and take it exactly as it is handed to you. And then like, let whatever comes out of it be the art. And then I like will turn and start playing a new game and be like, okay, so I'm going to erase this. And so I've been making a point for myself of like trying to change that because I care so much about it and I see the pitfalls of it now more than I did as a player. A lot more of my play now is like, I'm going to read the book, I'm going to follow the book exactly, and if after 3 sessions I hate it, then I will start messing with it, But that took me seeing other people do it to my game before I even adjusted that behavior.
There's a quote that I heard recently that has been like really helping me figure out like how to put stuff out into the world. And it was Erykah Badu apparently said this to Donald Glover. And it was, I make what I like and they eat it how they want to eat it. And I was like, that is Erykah Badu, you're killing it.
Yes.
But like that really did take a level of anxiety off me of like, I'm going to make it exactly how I want. If we're making a podcast, I want you to listen to it with the best headphones on. I want you to be sitting there
At 1x speed.
Single speed. If anyone's listening to it, not single speed, I'm mad at you. But single speed headphones, maybe close your eyes, have a nice cup of tea, and just like sit and listen without anything else. But I know every podcast I listen to is with bad headphones on a walk while I'm thinking about things and also talking to someone. It's like, it's not fair.
But on 1x speed, because
But on what
Some
extent?
things are non-negotiable. Yeah.
Right.
So this is related to the people who are playing your game, because I think one of the things you guys talked to us about that was really important in how you approach this project, the vault especially, was one of these things of like, we want to give you 12 adventures so that you have a year of playing this game, that you like, this game is still going to be here, we're going to support it, there's going to be community. Now that this is out, what are the continuing plans for sort of fostering and supporting that community, whether that's play materials or otherwise?
Yeah. So right now, like I described earlier, every time we got to the point where we were like, well, maybe we want to push out some more missions, we started learning more about how people are playing the game. And so a lot of it has been revisiting, like, okay, well, let's change this a little bit now because we've seen kind of more of how people are playing, and that's been slowing us down. We've had the time, so we haven't been so stressed about getting stuff out quickly. But I will say, just like you said about the vault in a year, I'm feeling the pressure at this second that now we're at that point for the digital version. Like, the vault digitally got released about exactly a year ago, and so I'm like, okay, now people are allowed to be upset with me because they could feasibly have played them all. But something that's been really nice is, as a result of the Discord community and us being really present there and talking to people and people making stuff there is like more community stuff getting built right now. We are in the process of 3 different like tiny supplements of different kinds that are all getting bolstered at different speeds that are hopefully going to come out in the next like year, sometime in that time. Probably smaller projects, stuff that's not going to get crowdfunded, stuff that's going to start out digitally, and then we see if people care about it to make it into a physical. But that's the plan. The plan is to keep adding some missions, to keep adding additional support and help for running the game in ways that we hope will help like steer people down like safer paths, I guess, to like make it easier to play. And then beyond that, it's like, whenever we finally get the engine revved up again to be so excited about another part in this world is really what we're looking at. Yeah.
I'm curious, have you guys seen, as far as like third-party creators, either if they're like trying to sell something or if they're just like making something for fun and sharing on the Discord, is there anything you've seen made that has made you re-examine the game in any way, or it's just like surprised you as something someone's made?
I mean, every one of them makes me re-examine the game. Not meant to be a diss. That wasn't a joke. That wasn't a diss. Just genuinely, because then it's a conversation in a way that I've had very, very little opportunity to have outside of this partnership. Mm-hmm. End of thought.
Yeah. I've been something that's been funny about it is like you say, like seeing people engage with it is learning new things. This is the first time I've ever had to see people like, because of how intentionally like voice forward Triangle Agency is, it's the first time I've seen people like imitate me, you know, like, and that's been a really interesting thing because there's voices in here that are like the writing and so I was getting to see people like, oh, this is how it's getting processed, this is what they're making, and some of that is like wild because you'll see people add stuff that you would never think of that does fit perfectly well to the character you've made and everything, and then and that's been really, really cool. There've been a couple of additions, character pieces that are really, really exciting and are taking what we're already pushing and pushing them further. There's a thing on itch.io called the Amaranth folder that I recommend everybody check out. It's probably the most like highly produced and complicated addition to the game so far made by the community. It's like a whole team of people have worked on it, and it is it's extremely cool. It has art. It's got multiple character pieces. And like, if nothing else, the main thing that does is re-inspire. Like, oh right, there's more to do. There's more stuff to make, and it's really, really awesome. But no, nothing that's made us be like completely shattered it open for us or anything yet.
Sure.
Yet.
Yeah. I would love for it to happen. I would love for it to happen. That would be awesome.
So I think kind of pivoting to Haunted Table, like as a company, and like this game created a game company, like, you know, from the Kickstarter funds, from the creation of the game. What does Haunted Table kind of look like today now as the company that supports Triangle Agency, and sort of where do you see that as you look forward? Like,
yeah, Haunted Table was always kind of just like to hold Triangle Agency at first, and then now it's like it's still that it's still holding Triangle Agency. It's still the like place where the money goes, so that nobody's holding on to it individually, and like the thing that allows there to be like an organization holding onto it and distributing money and like managing Triangle Agency. Most of the day-to-day work is just like me doing the like things that you have to do to keep it moving, like making sure books continue to be shipped or whatever. And when we publish more games, it'll be under that company. We've talked to a few people about potentially like helping them with their projects as a publisher at some point, just because we've got some money and we can help some projects, but none of those are like in super real stages yet. It's more just like discussions with people that have already worked with us or who we like, who are like, we're like, if you need help with this, like, please let us know. But the ambitions of Haunted Table are still kind of like a big question mark. Like we're currently, I'm just trying to make sure that it will keep reprinting books. Like that's the main thing. Like, will it keep reprinting stuff? Will it stay accessible? Will the books keep getting to people? And then beyond that, it'll be, as soon as we have another big project and it has to like turn into a wider publisher, it will.
It is nice to have the infrastructure set up now. And it's like, okay, the second time will be a little easier than this.
Yes.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
Something that I don't know if we shout out enough, but Triangle Agency is owned by its creators,
Right.
by the people in the byline. Haunted Table licenses that from the people who made it.
Oh, interesting.
Oh,
So Haunted Table has the like holds the rights to everything in Triangle Agency, but every piece of this, the like missions in the vault written by different writers, each individual piece of art, our writing in Triangle Agency is all technically like owned by us as well. It's a shared thing in the contracts. So we joked about this at the time. For me, I called it the Batman problem, which is like I didn't want anybody to, in the course of working on the vault, make Batman, right? And then suddenly look up and realize like I don't have control of Batman anymore. You know, like, and that wasn't going to happen, but it was that feeling of like, oh yeah, because there's a ton of characters like that, especially in comics, like worse than anywhere else, where people like worked on something they really cared about for a short period of time, and then now we're seeing like, now we're getting up to many, many decades later, but 50, 60 years later, looking up and being like old and poor and having made, Batman or Green Lantern or whatever. And so there was a feeling going into this as a creative and as a writer, like first, like I want to make sure that nobody's in that trap. Yeah, was like a big conversation we had. And like at this moment, that hasn't necessarily meant very much. But technically, anybody that worked on this could reprint anything they made in it at any time. That's also meant to help protect in case like I fall apart, Haunted Table falls apart, and people are like, I want to be able to put my work back out there. We want to make sure that there's nothing legally in the way of doing that.
That is really forward thinking. And just like, I'm sure that process is a lot of work to put all that onto a contract, like send it out and get everyone to agree to like all these terms and have it understand. It's very like forward thinking, and I just want to underline it and praise it. That's a good thing to do.
yeah.
I just like that.
Thank you. It was really important to us.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and I've heard repeatedly from folks that you guys were just extremely ethical in the way that you like worked with freelancers and stuff. You paid good rates, you gave revenue shares, stuff that a lot of companies don't do. And so, yeah, just a second commendation for that. It's really important.
Thank you.
Yeah. I never doubted it, but it's very good to hear.
Yeah, we tried because, and like I said, I'm a writer first. I've been working for big publishers forever. I do a lot of IP work for kids books that I work on, and that whole sphere is built on like a huge long history of things just kind of being the way that they are. And so the stuff that sucks is because it's like it's been this way and everybody kind of complains about it. Everybody knows it's a little bit exploitative and it's been happening for decades. TTRPGs have existed for decades, but they haven't had so much structure outside of a couple of companies. So when we were talking about it, it was like, well, if we have a chance to make a company right now and that company can do anything that we think is better, or we can establish something we think would be good long term, like that's what we were trying to do.
Yeah. In the a year before we started working on Triangle Agency, I was head of HR for a startup. And so when it came time to make contracts for our collaborators and for ourselves, I kind of got to be like my own inside man. Like, how do I make sure that the company's not evil? How do I neuter the company's ability to like ruin anybody's life? Yeah. And it felt great. It felt great to be a business Dexter.
Yeah.
Business Dexter.
Yeah. Wow.
That's really good. Yeah, I guess as we kind of round this out to a close, you're at a stage in this journey. You're not at the end of the Triangle Agency journey, I would say, but you're you're years from the start. And I think like Caleb and Sean of 2022 first words put to paper on this?
Yeah. 2021 actually. 2021, August 2021 was like the first Triangle Agency has like chats in our Discord about it. Yeah.
What do you tell those two guys with everything you know now?
Oh gosh. You're gonna break him.
Sorry, I'm in a reverie. Don't get COVID. And then don't do it 4 more times.
Oh my god! I didn't even know that. What in the world? That's too many times.
Don't.
Wow. I actually would use mine to tell Sean that.
Yeah, okay.
So fair.
No, that's your answer.
Okay. I lost my points.
I think be patient and trust.
Smile.
It feels incredibly trite, but for so long in like 2021 and 2022, there were times, a lot of it was incredibly awesome, but a lot of it also felt like, is this anything? Like, are we just like digging ourselves into a dark corner that is going to disappear as soon as this chat ends?
Mm-hmm. I'm getting like a little bit choked up at this exact second because my actual response to that is more like lately I've been trying to return more to my brain at that time. So when I think about talking to them, it's more like wanting to get my own brain back. So it's a little tough to answer in the backwards. I think I've grown a lot. I think there's a lot about me that I'm happy about, but most of it is outside of, creative work. The time since we started working on this has meant an increase in pressure, a long amount of time of working all the time on this thing that led to like a point that felt very like brain breaky. That we still made it through, and it was never like so. Again, like with the cushion that we had and the amount of money that we made and all that, it was never like we were in like extreme danger, which has always been the worst psychological times of my life. But the changes that have occurred to my ability to look at art and approach it and talk about making a new project are significant enough that I'm like, it would be awesome if I could feel like I did, on August 2021, where I was like, who knows what'll happen? Let's start doing this. And that's become a lot tougher. Not because we don't have the resources to work on something, but because the pressure has built. So I don't know. I would ask some advice maybe.
That's a tough one. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I had a note in here where I was like, I feel like the farther along I get in game design, I have to continue to remind myself what a big milestone feels like, because I take so much for granted now that a year ago felt like we're in 20-sided store, and 3 years ago I sold 10 zines on wholesale to this store, and it was one of the best days of my entire life. And now I'm waiting for 2,000 games to come from China in a couple months, and selling 10 zines I like don't blink twice at, but like it still rocks. And I think that's a thing that I'm trying to grab in my mentality of like still be as excited as you were on those first couple milestones. The first time the Delta test sold on itch, somebody paid money for it. So I guess that'd be the best advice that I could give.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I was going to say that the Delta test is a funny thought, because the process for us was really like we did a little bit at a time, and then we were like, does anyone care? Do they like this one? And then we would do a little bit more, and that's harder to do now. It feels more like if we release something small that there's enough eyes on it that it's like, wow. I need 5 people telling me it's worth doing. I do not need all of you.
I don't need 3 Hamiltons standing ovations. I need like one 20-sided store.
Right.
And I feel like it's worth saying it. I don't think it's because, like, for me, it's not because the community's been like negative.
No.
Yeah.
It's not that.
It's the opposite of that. It's that I feel like I want to make better stuff. Like I want the people to be excited about it right when they see it. I don't want to lose that like joy.
It's the talk of the day. Hi, I'm Maia, and this is Maia's Game Room, a narrative actual play anthology featuring short-form, story-driven TTRPGs. Each season tells a new story using a different rules-light system brought to life with sound design, editing, and emotional-rich roleplay. So, if you love cinematic storytelling and character-driven drama, come check out Season 1, set in the haunting world of the Electric State RPG. Just search Maia's Game Room wherever you get your podcasts.
So we're going to open up to the audience for a little Q&A. If any of you have a question, please raise your hand and shout it out. I will repeat it into the microphone, or Brian will repeat it into the microphone, but let's make sure we repeat it for the audience. Brian.
Staring at me.
Yeah, what's up?
I thought about having some sort of comic or literature for like a specified like canon or mission team that you would love to like have like a story around, because I could totally see Gerard Way having a field day with some like big agency, small town people trying to like get something done or do something good while having like a pressure on them.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
I would repeat the question.
Yeah, sorry, you're right.
Caleb. we established how this was going to go, Caleb.
Okay.
Don't you write rules?
I was
You're
going
so
to answer
excited.
it so good.
You were about to
that
answer
it
it
was going to
so
be
good.
perfect. Like,
Let's be clear, you're still going to answer it.
You're
sir.
still going to answer it
but
so
I was going to
good.
wrap in the
right
question,
after this. The question was about, have you ever thought about if there would be a comic adaptation of Triangle Agency? Specifically, the audience member shouted out, Gerard Way would have a field day with this.
Yeah, we've talked about it a bunch of times. My background is in fiction writing, and I love, especially like most of my reading is comics. That would be amazing. Making a comic is very tough, so it would be a challenge to do that, I think, in terms of like publication. But the one thing I would push back on from your question, which was about whether they would make a canon team or something, I think the thing that is most in the way of doing it is our like disinterest in that, like not wanting to lock down the world such that it's harder to approach in the way that you put it together at your table. So we would want to be making something that didn't like limit the world, instead like tried to help expand it. But we talk about fiction all the time. I was joking today that my agent for books has been waiting on me to write a book forever, and when Triangle Agency came out and was really successful, he like sent me this very sweet email that was like, so maybe you need to write a Triangle Agency book? Like maybe that will make it get done? And I was like, very interesting. I love that idea. I will definitely think about that for another 2 years.
Yes. Like an anthology series where it's like, oh, here's a story with like different AUs or different people or different themes. If you like more like open-endedness, that seems so cool.
Yeah, an anthology series would be so cool. Yeah. I agree.
Oh, damn, a lot of hands. This is great.
You want to go back and forth? You pick one this
I'm gonna pick my wife. So I
Boo.
Thanks. Provided it's not a spoiler, what part of the layout and like what detail or part of the game was the hardest, posed the biggest challenge for you in the printing?
Oh, okay. It actually might be a time to pass the microphone if he's willing to. It might be okay. He's giving me a face, so no.
I don't know what.
So Michael will think about it, and maybe he'll have something to add. But I would say that the thing that we described earlier in this episode, which was that there was a chunk of the book, the General Manager's Toolkit, that we kind of revisited on a tight timeline when we were kind of like redoing it, was definitely like the most intense part of it. And so Michael made most of the actual challenging stuff in there, but I don't remember any specific piece of it being especially difficult, except the fact that we were doing it on... He was doing some very, very interesting, trying to turn the book into something else. So not so much as a spoiler word, but trying to make the book look like something else. And the tools that are available are not designed to do that. So when you're trying to make a book look like a computer, the like actual attempting to do that in an InDesign software is definitely the real challenge. I would say. Is there anything particular you want to shout out? We can.
I'm mostly thinking about the fact that I was handed a very large amount of text that had to be communicated in a very in a very specific way, and I had a very limited number of pages to do that.
Yeah.
So figuring out how to make every single section both unique and fit on the page, and like just be interesting, like every second of you reading it, it all added up to a fun but very difficult challenge.
Yeah. And Michael hadn't done book layout before. It had, yeah.
Serious?
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
He's just an amazing designer, so capable of anything.
I'm a little bit mad about that. I tried really hard on some of Elliot's games, and then I saw this, and I was like, well, damn it.
You did great. Those games look great.
I wasn't fishing. But thank you.
Well, you caught one anyway. Who's next? And I guess we're not repeating. I'm going to walk the mic out. Let's go
Oh, yeah, we
back.
can.
Here, you're all the way back there.
All right. I hate to put you on the spot, but I think we're all thinking it. So are we I got to hear more from Trina, from Harry, from Jangles. Are we going to see any more?
Oh my
Any
God,
more
you
plans?
remember the Many-Sided Media Patreon?
Maybe.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Hey,
that's a good segue.
that's a really good. What a good segue.
Yes, yeah, we're currently in conversation about doing a longer form triangle agency show with Many-Sided Media. The exact shape of that is currently kind of TBD. Whether you'll see the same characters, who knows? Yeah, definitely a triangle. You're right. But whether it won't be. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like or exactly what feed it's even on yet. But we'll be hopefully revealing information about that sometime in the coming months. Yeah.
This also isn't us just being coy. We also don't know.
No, yeah. There's a lunch meeting that's going to happen this week to determine a lot of it.
Very early days, but the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Who else got one?
Again, spoilers notwithstanding, but like specifically the narration between each of the sections of the book, because there are multiple speakers and multiple different viewpoints that this book is coming from. What was it like to like characterize them? Like even in the confines of like a rule book, it's still like there's still very distinct voices. They're still very. I could draw them theoretically. So I didn't get them that on point.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. That's so sweet. Thank you.
That's very kind of you to say.
How was it working on them? It helps that there were two of us. We were able to sort of like poke at putting different parts of it in different voices that we had to draw on. And then so much of it for me is about the literal, maybe this is too granular of an answer, but it's about the literal physical shape of the words on the page. And specifically, this is like where I get into like referencing Homestuck, unfortunately, but it's like... But like something that happened to me as a teenager was that I was like bathed in an acid of created by Andrew Hussey, and the like something that really taught me at the time, which was really useful and successful when you're doing text only voices, is how much can change just by shifting the like punctuation and capitalization of characters. And so a lot of what we played with was like, first of all, what is the intended goal of this writer, and the huge difference between the two voices that you're really going to deal with until you get into like really deep stuff are like, this is someone who's trying to appear professional versus this is someone who's trying really aggressively to not appear professional. So on that level, they're very different. And then we messed with the punctuation and capitalization as well. And then we had Michael come in to help us like really smash through. Like the whole book is an extension of these characters. The entire way the book is built is telling you stuff about them. So at the end of it, hopefully you end up able to draw them because you've got like all of these different pieces of information that I think paint a bigger picture.
Yeah. I know that one of the things that made it easier to write in voices is that a lot of the book was written like in conversation.
Yeah.
And I like shout out to I think an unsung hero of our writing process, which is the Google Docs track changes mode.
Yes.
Where like because so much of the writing was asynchronous, like I might like Caleb might write something and then I might sneak in there and be like and like suddenly this paragraph means something different.
Mm-hmm. And so much, like a lot of my favorite stuff in the book came from me sending a message to Sean and being like, Sean, can you write me like 3 of the most like boring evil paragraphs you can? Like just hit me with something that I can smash. And then by having that, it became not a fight between like me and me, but like a thing between I'm given something that I'm allowed to play with. And that feeling of like having a bunch of stuff you didn't come up with that you're allowed to fiddle with and edit and change, I think led to a lot of really creative, unusual outcomes. Yeah.
You guys kind of role played
Yeah.
through the writing
Yes.
process. Love that. Who's next?
So with the idea of like having very like powerful PCs with the anomaly abilities and also just like requisitions, one of the other things about the anomaly abilities is how like disastrous the consequences are for failing. How and a lot of the like I wish I had reread it before I came, but I remember stuff about like things will fail, things will go wrong, and things will go like spectacularly wrong. What tone did you want the consequences to communicate, both in terms of like anomaly power, failures, but also in terms of like the setting up of the players in these missions and stuff?
Oh, really good question.
I have 2 vignettes that I'd like to answer that question with. First is when I think of the ideal tone for somebody failing a triangle agency role, I think about an episode of The X-Files where halfway through, Mulder's hand is suddenly 3 feet big. And they must go through the rest of the script. No changes. And on the other hand, like my more personal and honest answer is that this might be a spoiler for the book The Magicians by Lev Grossman. But
You're just throwing spoilers out for other books all
sorry,
the time.
gang. I'm wrecking them. But it's a book that a large part of that book happens. It takes place after these characters go through a magic school and then they're living in a city, and they're like these young graduates who can do anything and must choose simply what they want to do. I read that book when I was like just a college graduate. I had just gotten out of an art school, and so I felt like I was surrounded by these people who could make magic quite literally, and had that same distress of like, the world doesn't recognize us, the world doesn't know us, the world doesn't want us. What can we do? And that feeling is something that I think is in here, where the characters can do anything, and they're tasked with choosing what they're going to do.
And the failure tone, like as Sean is describing, it's like they tend to fall down one of 2 directions. And it was based on whether we wanted them to be like funny and horrifying, right? To allow you to kind of, as a table, modulate exactly how much you want to lean into the horrifying part versus the funny part. Or on the other side, a lot of the failure states in the game are meant to be like interestingly exploitable. So even more than tone, we were trying to design around like what is the worst way this could go that you would still maybe want to see happen. So a lot of it was extensions of abilities in that way. But like the rest of the book, I think it's a mix between wanting it to be a funny thing to read and then wanting it to be a terrible thing to have to negotiate the consequences of.
I learned about those consequences very well.
Yes.
Because mechanically, a player that like wants those bombastic failure states is also feeding the GM fuel to make their life more difficult later. And so that also presents the choice between like, do you want to do this buttoned up and under the table, or do you want to go loud mode back and forth?
Let me get someone over here.
So I think you folks can speak a little bit more to this, but it's very clear to everybody that you're operating with great ethics. You're treating everybody you work with fantastically. How fun was it to write the worst megacorpo in the world in comparison to that?
Oh gosh, it was really fun. I think something that we kept coming back to that I love the most about it is that our goal was to write a voice that was horrible and unable to disguise it. Like literally, like as if an alien was following all of the rules of tone and etiquette, but didn't understand the substance of anything they were saying, like not truly. And so that was the most fun, like prompt of the way we were writing it was like, can it be exactly following every little tiny thing that you do to make something sound nice and fail completely at making the core and like substance of it be nice. And that tension was like way more fun for me of a tension than explicitly the goal of like, can it be evil? It was like, can it be evil and can it sound like so like everybody else who's trying to convince you they're very nice, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it was a safe fantasy playground in my brain for the business Dexter. You know, by day, I'm making sure that the people who wrote the book own the book. By night, I'm letting players imagine being berated by somebody who probably sounds like somebody they work with.
Yeah, we've been talking about this a lot lately, and I think about this a lot when I look at other professional communication. But like, I find it to be one of my biggest like personal pet peeves when you can tell an organization or a person is like hoping that by the end of their sentence, if they said it the right way, you won't care what they said. And like that, no matter what the goal of the sentence is, that thing is so like deep in my bones infuriating that getting to do it 100 times was like perfect massaging, like and then to get to say like, yes, of course this is evil, like of course this is bad.
So you kind of talked about this a little bit in the actual episode, and since this is like talking about what's next and what's moving forward, I'm kind of curious, like Triangle Agency asks you to play with it in really unique ways, especially for like the RPG medium. I'm curious, like now that it's been out, like you said, you're watching people play it, and you as designers are like playing stuff and exploring things. Are there any like unique forms of play that you're excited to explore now that you've like had some time? And also, are you excited to maybe bring that into what you want to do next for Triangle Agency?
Yeah, I have a big one, but do you want to go first? I've talked so much.
All of them.
Everyone.
Yeah.
We talked a lot. A lot of what we did in here, part of the fun of Triangle Agency was about making a big toolkit. And a lot of that stuff is like layered onto your campaign, like a million little decorations of like stuff you can touch on and play with if you want and put away if you want. And so many pieces of it, I say all the time, would be fun to like pull out and be like, what is the whole game that flows just from this one piece? And for me lately, something that I'm really interested in is something that also our community has really latched onto, which is, to sort of speak in general terms, the game has a mechanic that can hit after a certain amount of play that begins to affect your world in particular chosen ways in here that kind of escalate over time if you roll a d20 in a particular way a bunch of times, like whatever. But the one of them requires you to go back and redo a mission you've already done. It is a very possible thing that it turns out is like either it's actually every D20 in the world is weighted, or just every campaign has a GM who's like, actually, I really want to do this one. Because we've had it happen like way more than we hear about any of the other ones, is a thing that has you go back and just like run the exact same mission with the same team again. And you just have to do it again. My like biggest current like excited project that Sean and I have been discussing takes that piece of like, what does it mean to really do something again? As a player. And I want to lean away from saying like a time loop is not at all the direction that I'm thinking of here. Just like when we sit down and we play a game at a table, often we are doing a lot of the same things again. Like we are like sitting down and making similar characters that we've made before. We're like talking about events we've seen before. Sometimes you'll run the same adventure module multiple times. And I'm really interested in that. Like what are the limits of what people are willing to do again is kind of how I'm feeling.
Jumping off of that and extrapolating that a bit, the way, a way we've already talked about that I think about that is like, what if the voices you described, people got to play? Mm-hmm. What does that conversation even look like? Ooh.
Sorry about the...
No, it's good. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. So, I mean, you worked with, I know you've had some, both corporate experience before, HR as well, but also working with, bigger names like Kickstarter, Beckeret, creating your own company. Anything in particular that you ran into while you were interacting with these more corporate, seamless, faceless entities and or creating your own that surprised you and got incorporated into the text or the book or something that maybe you didn't think of beforehand? Any weird email that you got at some point on writer in a contract that you didn't see that got worked into it during the creative process?
I have an answer.
Yeah, you go first. Go.
So a lot of the development of this game happened concurrently with me having my first ever full-time white-collar job in an office. And I had heard so many times, and I knew because I had lived it, that HR's job is to protect the company from the employees, not to advocate for the employees. But it was one thing to know that. And it was one thing to work 20 feet away from the woman whose job it was to collect a survey from everybody and about how we were feeling at work and what we were concerned about, and for her to share in an all-hands meeting that because everybody listed work-life balance as a concern, the meeting was not going to talk about work-life balance. And then it just that easily disappeared forever.
It's stressing people out. It's stressing people out too much. We're not going to discuss it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It really does feel very triangulated.
These people are real.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't think of anyone that happened during our actual engagements with Kickstarter, Backer or them. The main thing was honestly hearing. The main thing that was definitely an inspiration was hearing from other creators. Like Elliot said earlier, people have been like, "You guys are doing great," to a series of things that seemed like at the time, we definitely knew people weren't doing them, but did not seem like that big of a deal. And then the more we hear oh yeah, this doesn't happen at all, or this no, I've been paid $50 and they've printed 10,000 of these, that kind of stuff coming back over and over was a reminder of how bizarre life can be for the people who are actually literally creating the things that become important. So a lot of this game, a lot of the metaphor of it has to do with how Triangle Agency doesn't even really care about money. They care about your will. Having your time and having your impact on the world be theirs. And so those conversations definitely bolstered that and reminded us of how strong they were. But I can't think of a specific thing that's anywhere near as good as that. Yeah.
Lucky.
Well, I have stuff from before, but not during.
No, I know. Yeah. I know we met working at what at the time was the worst company I'd ever worked for.
And now it's Haunted Table.
Right. No, not even as a joke. Hey, no, not in front of all my friends.
I recently got to send my first per our previous conversation email, which was great.
Brian has slowly gotten to discover the joys of corporate lingo and stuff as we've made a company over the last 2 years, while I'm actively trying to get over it from working before.
The first time we wanted to do an all-hands meeting, Elliot had just gotten out of his job that had all-hands meetings. He's like, we can't call it an all-hands meeting. I was like, okay, so what do we call it? And every single hands meeting. And so every Thursday we have an every single hands meeting.
We're a deeply serious company.
So serious.
All single hands. All single hands.
Wow, have we not made that joke?
Never made that joke.
Wow.
Yeah.
We can still find new jokes, folks. We can still do it.
Still got it.
That is a big part of what would happen with some of this game is I haven't had a professional job, but I've had jobs for smaller businesses that follow some of these patterns. But often, I think some of the fun in this game comes from Sean providing great lingo, and because I don't have context for it, I get to reevaluate the words as what do these words actually suggest that we're doing? And I know enough for what they mean, but it's how can we play with the language and joke with it? So one of those is it's barely touched on, but the phrase human resources just doesn't at all mean HR in our sense. It's it is when you have humans that are resources. And, which is one of those things that's that's a wild phrase already, but being able to be I'm not coming at it with the same baggage exactly. So Sean providing hilarious, incredible phrases. I'm trying to think of a good one right now, but there's always little stuff that I would be is there a businessy word for this? And Sean would be yes, and say the worst thing I'd ever heard.
The listeners at home don't get to see the pain in Sean's eyes as Caleb is saying this.
Yeah.
It hurts
Anybody
too.
else? Anybody else have any questions? Yeah.
So, from a writer to some others, what was your kind of big moment of like, okay, I've thought about it, I've talked about it, I need to finally just manifest it and make it happen? And as a follow-up, how did you kind of begin to collect your assets, like reaching out to artists, reaching out to manufacturers and stuff like that?
Yeah. So this is one that worked not at all like anything else I've ever made, which is that like the first thing that I did was because I wanted to learn how to use a design software, I had a funny idea for a title of something and I made a logo for it. And that is still basically the logo of Triangle Agency. The text with the E backwards and the red triangles in it. And Michael was trying to teach me how to use some design software at the time. So it was kind of like a project I did over the course of a day, and then sent it to Sean. I was like, what if we made an RPG called Triangle Agency? That was like literally how it started, was like that tweet. And then what happened was that post got enough people like kind of looking at it and being like, well, that actually sounds really cool. Cause I put like a little blurb of what I thought it would be interesting if it was like, or what it would become. And enough people were like, that would be great, that we were like, okay, well, let's poke at it then. Cause we had been working as like after school RPG playing counselors for a long time. So we had been playing a lot, talking a lot about design, and finally we're like, let's mess with it. I think we did so much aggregation of ideas. I recently went back through a lot of our chats to look at how it went. And like, honestly, like the bulk of what would become the game, we had already started saying was going to be the game that first day. It was like, there's this long chat that we were talking for like something like 7 or 8 hours over the course of a day. We were doing other stuff. And a lot of that, all the core stuff in here, like the kind of the way the dice would work, sort of, kind of what the premise of the game was, even the idea of like the Playwall documents at the end had its early seeds in that first conversation. But the moment where I think we were like, oh, this has like let us go full speed, honestly happened during rules drafting for me, which was when we discovered the second voice. Was like, we had been playing with it, we had all these rules, we were putting it together, we felt pretty good about it. And then I was drafting up rules. I got to the second chunk, like general manager's toolkit, and was like, I can't write this in the agency voice because the agency would want you to play a bad game. And so I was sitting there with that for a while, and then I sent Sean like a document or screenshots or something where I had like started making fun of basically myself. Like I had written a couple paragraphs of it and then was like, I hate these, so I'm going to poke at them. And then that became, that moment was when we were like, oh, this is very, very special. We have to push through this. Do you have a different one, or does that feel like...
I have both of those, and then I think the moment where I was like, oh, this is going to get out of the garage was with the Delta test and the reception to the Delta test. And people sharing about it and talking about it and going viral in Japan.
Yes, that was wild. That was very funny, very early. Like in the first couple of days, but there were a lot of Japanese players. Yeah. We were very surprised by that. Yeah, it was funny.
That's rad.
Yeah.
First time that at all. Yeah,
that's cool.
And then to answer your other question of how we started gathering stuff, that was around the time we finished drafting it. We started putting together the Delta test. And then once we had the Delta test, it was amazing because we had this great package to show people. So when I was reaching out to artists, I could be like, hey, here is something you can look at that shows you like this is what it's going to be basically. Like, would you like to work with us? Here's the budget we have. And so around the time we did the Delta test, which was one artist that I had asked to work with us, and then all the layout was done by like me and Sean and Michael's help, and then all the writing was in there, and it was icons from the Noun project or whatever. We just put it together with what we had, and then we had this great complete package to say like, can you imagine with us that this would be bigger? And I asked for a friend of mine named Ryan Kingdom, who became our art director, to help me like find people because he was interested in doing that kind of work. And then it was just straight up emails. It was like I had been online in the TTRPG space for a while, so I had a sense of who I wanted to work with as writers. And then for artists, it was almost everybody we worked with as an artist was somebody I had never spoken to before, but who I was like really excited about. And I just had like we developed a really clear formula, which was like, here is the game. You can look at this part. We want you to do exactly this. It's like these pieces you've done before, and this is how much we'll pay for it. And that was on every single first email we sent. And we only had one person not say yes to that, because it was like we tried to make it as easy as we could. So I would say that that's kind of what it was like. But it meant asking a lot of artists before the Kickstarter, here's what we're thinking. we want to pay you this. We won't be able to until we get this money. Like, how do you feel about that? And then being like, sure. And then for some of those artists who we knew we wanted to work with long term, we wanted to lock them in, so we paid them a little ahead of time to have stuff for the Kickstarter, and to like everybody, like all of our artists who did the character pieces did 3 ahead of time, so that, and then ultimately did 9. Yeah.
You want to tell the people how you met Ryan?
Oh my gosh. Ryan Kingdom, great friend of mine who I met because I had a Sonic the Hedgehog fan podcast.
What? What was that?
It's still out there. We made about 50 episodes. It was like a series of Sonic things and also some Kirby.
50?
Yeah.
Okay.
We released like almost weekly, and we were not anywhere close to scratching the surface of Sonic the Hedgehog, but
So you're saying you want to become a part of the many-sided network?
Honestly, literally, we would. If someone else was editing, we would be back. We would be back at it tomorrow.
Oh, that's not what the offer is.
Right. Well, then what are you for? Yes, we had a Sonic the Hedgehog podcast, and at the time that was like 2015 and 2016, and Ryan, who was just like a fan artist of Sonic and like someone online, found us and was like one of our like sweetest fans who like drew like a joke Sonic Sona I like said I had in one of the episodes, and then we became friends through that, and now I've worked with Ryan on so much since then. It's been amazing, and that was the lesson there is to make whatever, and you'll meet people.
True.
Yeah.
What's that called?
It's called Your Two Show.
It'll be linked in the show notes. Maybe 1 or 2 more. Anybody got any unanswered out there?
Who is your ideal reader for this game? And who is your worst nightmare reader?
Trying to get us to have takes. Ideal reader is actually maybe harder, but my ideal reader is someone who still a little bit doesn't understand how evil corporations are, and the dream is that somehow we nudge a few people over into really getting it. I don't think there's that many of those, but I hope more subtly that the ideal reader is people who haven't seen this kind of blatant language manipulation done to them, and as a result of reading it are like more equipped to see it other places. That's the ideal. Someone who's learned just a little bit. Worst reader, I cannot say. I have like a quote from a post like that has not left my brain every time we talk about this stuff, and I can't say it because it's like I know that this person might be out there somewhere.
Puddle's too deep.
But basically it's like my least ideal reader is the person who looks at this game and doesn't ask for it to be more trad, but asks for it to be more violent. That is a not uncommon request. It is specifically about, can I have more rules to do specific kinds of violence? And that comes up a bizarre amount, and that is like the number one question where I'm like, I don't know how to even start talking about that. Like, I don't even know where to go with that, you know?
Yeah.
That's probably the hardest thing. It's like, maybe that's an extension of just like, I don't want people who want the game to be something that it's not. You know, there's lots of games that let you do specific kinds of violence. We have you do weird ones, really, really weird ones.
Right, because so first, my ideal reader is somebody at Meta who reads this and then quits. Right. But yeah, what's so heartbreaking about people who are encountered with this game and their first question is, how can I track? Where can I get a gun? How can I track how much damage I'm doing to the anomalies?
Yeah.
Like, totally, absolutely has so many preconceived notions about what these monsters, in huge air quotes, are meant to be and represent. And it means that they haven't done any reading about the fact that these are beings shaped by human thoughts and emotions. And they come from a place, and they have desires, and they have a will, and they want to do stuff in and with the world, in and with people. And for people's only question is, how can I kill it, and how much can I kill it, is really heartbreaking.
Yeah. And I want to stress that you put it exactly right, which is that the issue isn't so much like, oh, it would be cool if there was a mechanic for this thing. I like totally think that making mechanics for your own table or like wanting more mechanics to handle certain things that are harder for you is like totally fine. It's specifically what Sean is mentioning, which is that we always get it framed to us in terms of like, well, of course I want to kill them, you know, and like, well, of course I want to kill them, and why haven't you made that easy? Is kind of the part that's like always like, oh, I don't know. Like, why do you think? Let's read about it. We'll see. But we have had so little actual like friction, and we've had like the reason I had one single comment in my mind is because it's only happened a small handful of times that something has really struck me like that. But we've had so many people who have brought stuff to it that I never would have expected, who care about it in ways that we wouldn't have expected, and who find such fun, like I said earlier, connections between things in the system and build their own worlds around it. That has been so flattering and cool. So those readers too.
Hell yeah. That feels like maybe a good last Q&A queue.
Yeah, it feels like I think we've got one more question that we always end this show with, and you guys were one of the first people I think we asked this to, and we forgot to prep you this time that we were going to do this.
No, we prepped them this time.
Yeah,
did we?
yeah.
Oh,
We were one today.
I've been
I
prepped.
didn't.
Yeah, we prepped them
did.
this time.
We did. Last question we always ask on the show is, what are you bringing to the table? And this is just our cute way of asking you for a recommendation of absolutely anything. Could be inside tabletop, outside of tabletop, could be a book, movie, could be telling people to go take a long walk on a beach. Caleb and Sean, what are you bringing to the table?
Sean, go.
Sure. Unionize. If you work at a place that can have a union, start asking questions and have conversations with people and get yourselves on that track. If there is a union that already could represent your workplace, get in touch with those reps. If you're a freelancer, there is a freelancers union. Because at the risk of turning this into a joke, since we started writing this book, people have invested a lot more in the red tracks in the book. And I would love to see people investing more in the blue and the yellow tracks.
Yeah, in life.
In life.
Not in the
Yeah.
game. Game player is fine.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I listened to the old episode. Your previous recommendation was also union related.
Well,
Consistency.
I would describe that as one of the best parts of this is from the time where we met, which he said earlier, we were in like the worst workplace ever, to now, very recently, that workplace has unionized. So like a place where we were so miserable we made this game has found their way to unionizing, which is amazing. My recommendation is line dancing. I've been recently very into it, as many people who follow me online will know. I don't think line dancing specifically needs to be the thing, but I think my biggest recommendation to everybody who is making games and thinking about games is to like do other stuff a lot, and make games as the thing you do within a very specific space, and then make sure the rest of your life is doing stuff that can matter to those games. Because the part of why we were able to make this is because we had decades of life that we poured into this one. And part of why it's harder to make more stuff is because we've done that. You know, we're doing more things now. So for me, it's been line dancing. It's awesome. If you live here in New York, I just recently got to go to Desert 5 spot here in Williamsburg, which is very close by. So you're here. I know you can make it there. Amazing place. Great line dancing. They have classes on Wednesdays. I've been so obsessed with it because it's like completely non-competitive, completely brand new way for my brain to be. And I was a theater kid, so I'm getting to kind of do some of that again. But
I'll be there.
Right. And Elliot will be
Most
there.
Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm. So line dancing, and if not line dancing, just like make sure that there's some stuff that you are doing that does not have an immediate and obvious bearing on your work, if you can, because it will eventually have an immediate and obvious bearing on your work, and it will be really positive. But you have to give yourself that time and space and give yourself something silly to say in an opportunity like this.
And that is our show, our live show. Thank you so much to Caleb and Sean for this incredible game. Thank you to our wonderful audience for attending the first live Talk at the Table. And thank you to Lauren and Luis and 20 Sided Store for hosting. We love
Lauren appeared from nowhere.
And of course, if you want more gaming content from us, you can join the Many-Sided newsletter or the Many-Sided Media Discord, where you can chat up about this episode and all your feelings. Or if you want to support this show, you can join the Many-Sided Media Patreon and hear great shows like the one that was referenced earlier, where we played Triangle Agency with Caleb running.
Caleb ran Triangle Agency for us.
So if you want to hear us play Triangle Agency with Caleb as GM, that's on there.
I think it's currently still the only full rules published game that I've run. So recommend. Everybody check it out.
Ooh, an exclusive. And if you're listening at home and you like this live show format, let us know, and we'll try and swindle Lauren into letting us do it way more. Please rate, review, and follow Talk at the Table wherever you get your podcasts. And that's what the table is talking about. Bye-bye, everybody.